These are some of the features that Dialog Network has. Idea Mart is about giving you the opportunity to use SMS, USSD, EasyCache, Attribute, LBS, Connect, some of the features. So if you own the Dialog Network with these features, think of what you can do. That's what Idea Mart is about. So when it comes to web developers, it's different to the normal application developers. What you can do is you have web APIs from providers like Google, Amazon, and so many others. Even private companies have certain APIs that they have given out. And you get the Idea Mart APIs, which I was talking about, the features, they come as APIs. You develop a small application. If you don't have the capability of creating that small software application, where the tools and everything is there on ideamart.lk. If you go to www.ideamart.lk, you can learn a lot more on that. Get those tools, create a very small application. Your offering on this website that you create could be multifold. Give you a slight example before handing over to Charit. We talk about another important API that we have on Idea Mart called Connect. Before that, I'll just show you a simple example of what we've done. This is a simple donation application. Send an SMS and donate to this magnificent organization called SOS Children's Villages, who looks after so many kids. I'll just as an example, send an SMS to Bank. There it is. Okay. So send a simple SMS with this letters SOS, space, the donation amount. I'm talking about 5 rupees here. So number called 77117, and ideally it should show. Let's see. There you go. Get the number ping, and the child smiles saying thank you. Now this is the web interface. So this is what you can do by connecting APIs and using the APIs for the web. With that, let me hand you over to Charit. And let me take you through the connect part. Thank you.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Charit. First of all, thank you Roshan for sharing my FB page. I hope it's going to be lovely all over the place tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, so right, Dialog Connect. Most of you would have come across this already. Have you all tried logging into any of our sites like Idea Mart to pay your bills? Have you all tried that? Okay. Right, so this is a product that has been there for a while. But there has been a new version. That's what we are going to be showing you today. And we thought that this is going to be a great audience to showcase a product, because the product that we are deciding to evolve. So we think that this is going to be really good. I'm going to keep it really short because I've been told I only have like 6 minutes and 3.5 seconds after that. It's been really short. So Dialog Connect, simply said, Dialog Connect is an online single sign-on solution that Dialog offers. But then the question is going to be, there's a whole load of free stuff already available. Why do you bother with Dialog Connect? So yeah, you get all of those. This is Dialog Connect. Actually, why bother with that? There's a reason actually you can consider Dialog Connect. So how many people have has a Google or Facebook account with an anonymous name or a pseudonym. Yeah, so I know a friend here who claims to be Nick Jagger on Facebook and Gmail. So in case he logs into your website, this is going to be good news for you. You got Nick Jagger as a customer. But when you get to check his credit limit, exactly these Nick Jagger material there. So what we offer is, if we say that Nick Jagger is actually logged into your website, that is actually going to be Nick Jagger logged into your website. Because we give you a authenticated profile, but also we are not going to expose the details of a customer without the consent of the customer. So the customer is also protected. So some of the features that we have, that's the authenticated validated identity. Then there's a potential 9 million customers who can log into your website or sign up to your website with just 3 clicks. And most of them are already active on Connect, about 450,000 users, who actively engage in mobile commerce and use their mobile wallets to pay online. So this is a customer base of 450,000 people who want a free to use e-commerce. So this is a good customer base for your website from day one. You just get to use it. Registration is fairly simple. The user just has to choose a username, password, and give an email address. That's it. And you click on the verification link, you're done. Then if you want, you can go into the extent of adding your mobile number and customizing it. But registration is really simple. Header enrichment. Example, if you use your mobile device and you log into a site or a service or application that uses Dialog Connect, we can tell you that this customer, who the customer is by looking at his header. We can say that this is Charit Disilva logging into your website. Example, think you're running a news site, and I might want to see technology and sports news on my front page. That's all I want to see. If I customize that, I don't have to log into your website and enter password and get it. I can just browse on my phone and I'll get my customized page. But all of these again are controlled by the user. He can decide to use it or not. Suppose multiple devices, large screen or small screen, you can use anything. The other important thing is two-factor authentication. Two-factor essentially means using an alternate medium to authenticate the user. So you can use let's say your username and let's say a high security website like a banking website or a transactional e-commerce website. What's in it for you? So that will be the important question. So you have existing customers that you already get access to. Two-factor, and the other most important thing I think these days you are going to get access into the behavior of the customers. It would be exactly who the customer is or what this particular customer is. But you will get an insight into the data, what customers are doing. That information you get. And this is valid because these are actual users profile the behavior that you get to analyze. So if you are planning on launching a new website or a new service and you want to know whether people would like this kind of a service, that's something that you can do a very good dedicated guess on that, because you will get a behavioral profile of actual users. So that's another thing that you get out of it. And it's absolutely free for your use, no cost at all. You can just talk to Geeta Nomalia, just Geeta. Talk to him and make sure you end up in Connect. So yeah. Okay, so the other benefit is Dialog has a whole lot of other services that we offer with Connect. For example, we have a call initiation service called Click to Call. If you have a website and you want to make customers call your calls and easy, you just going to click on a button and it will initiate a call between you and the call center. So if you already have Connect, integrating services like that will be very easy. And the two other, I think most important things should be add to build and easy cache. So if you are running a transactional website, with Connect you can easily integrate add to build and easy cache. So if you are integrating Connect, you get all these wrappers already available that you can use Dialog Connect installation. The JavaScript option, Java, PHP, and it's also introduced the OpenID compliant. And the other thing is, this is also so the same thing that runs Idea Mart takes care of this. So if you have been to Idea Mart, you know that there are like developers already who are not even part of Dialog doing a lot of support to other developers. It's a community. So the same community will support you on this. So there will be a lot of material out there for you to use. And if you want sample code, usually somebody in the community will write it for you. And one guy who used to do that, and we recommend it. Possible. So yeah, so you get all of this. And actually what we want to do today was to give you an open invitation. This product has been there for a long time. Why we are talking about today is there's a new version of it. You can use it and see. You can go to connect.dialog.lk. That's a single sign-on solution. What we want you to do is use it, break it. By all means break it. If you break it, don't put it on electricity.com. That's an email address in the next page. Contact us and say, hey, there's a problem here, we broke it, this is what happened. So we fix it because from my point, software is never complete. You can never build a software that's unbreakable, one man, but I make, somebody else will break it. So it's an evolutionary process. So you want to make it better for everybody because we are not essentially making money out of it. So that's the open invitation. Break it and tell us what happened and so we can fix it. So these are contact details. Right, so you can use that and also you can use that service Connect to get alerts on Connect or asking questions from us. Again, it's free, you won't be charged. Don't worry. Use that. So thank you. That's all. I think that's how I done the sorry. Yes. I have more time. 20 seconds? Okay. Any questions?
Okay, my question, sorry, completely out of heard, is it based on OpenID and OAuth?
Okay. Yeah, I shout. You can have it. Okay, it's currently based on, it's a single sign-on solution based on OAuth. The next version of it, because it's still the beta, the next version of it will be on OpenID Connect. So essentially OpenID Connect is a new standard that the guys who did OpenID has come up with. So we are trying to make it compliant with that, because in that case we can use any existing OpenID Connect library to integrate with Dialog.
That would be much easier than
exactly. Yes. Yes.
The next question, I answered it earlier, is okay, let's say I have a choice, Facebook Connect or Dialog Connect. So why would I do it? You said there's some validated stuff and all that, but other than that, obviously Facebook has all these millions of users.
Yeah.
And Dialog of course are basically limited to people from Sri Lanka, right? When people have a Dialog phone, is it?
Not really. So Connect works on, if you have a Dialog mobile, you'll get a set of extra features like extra security. You'll get to use mobile e-commerce sites, everything. But if you are a normal user with email account, you can still create a Dialog Connect account and use it. It's not restricted to Dialog mobile. Actually, you can use your Dialog WiMAX or DTV account.
So let's say we have nothing to do with Dialog.
Still, if you have an email address, you can use it. Because in that sense, if you just have an email address, then I would say there's a difference between using Facebook Connect or Dialog. But if you are a Dialog user, the profile that we are going to share with the merchant, it's anonymous, yes, but that data is going to be of an actual person, so that you know you are dealing with an actual person who has these things. So that we can offer.
So this question, so if I'm a merchant, what data do you have and what part of it is free, what part of it is will you be actually charging for?
Okay, so everything that's, okay, as a merchant, you can say that you want these things of a customer. Let's say you want the first name, last name, NIC, email address, and birthday date. but the customer has the right to decide whether he wants to share it or not. If he is willing to share that detail, it will be shared with you. But to protect the customer, you wouldn't actually be able to. So it's again based on what. So you wouldn't be able to. Let's say he opted out of your website, then you would no longer be able to contact him through his dialog media because he blocked that. If he shared his email address with you already, we can't prevent that. But we can make sure that he doesn't get spammed after you leave the website because IdeaMart, people who use IdeaMart know this, we use something called ACR, Anonymous Customer Reference. So never the actual mobile number of the customer is going to be shared with the merchant. It's an anonymous number. So you can only use it for the period that he's with your site. He leave it be managed. That's how it works. Anything else? Any questions, guys?
Any other behavioral data that you can share?
Sorry.
Any other behavioral data that you can share as part of the platform?
It is part of the platform. We can share. So this is unlike IdeaMart. IdeaMart, like anybody can go online and sign up. This will be a different process signing up because we will actually have a sort of an agreement with the website or the merchant because it's like sensitive data. But we can give behavioral data. Yes. So you are sitting next to him. You will speak your details and he will contact you. Yeah.
As for the merchant side, we can understand the advantage of the access to the customer. How would you actually encourage the customer to use it? What kind of business can we do?
Thank you, Charit and Roshant. I'm sure you will have more questions. So Charit and Roshant are available at the networking session and you can bombard them at that session. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is a quality assurance engineer from 99X Technologies. He has experience in mobile apps, web-based systems across a range of business domains. He is a business analyst, a developer, and a user experience expert, and also an outdoor enthusiast. Ladies and gentlemen, to tell us about do's and don'ts of application usability, please welcome Mr. Ashraf Hussain.
Yeah. Okay, so my name is Ashraf and thanks for the introduction. I'm not going to talk about myself because introductions are too mainstream and to be honest, no one cares. So I'm here to talk about a few simple stuff about application usability. So before I start off, I would like to ask one simple question. Why do we use software? Okay. We as human beings use software for the betterment of our lives in different contexts. It could be for health, education, connectivity, and stuff like that. But having said that, an application should have an acceptable level of usability, without which they won't use the application which you, if you're a software vendor, if you're developing it, if there is no level of acceptable usability, they will ditch your software and turn towards a different supplier. So, what I'm going to talk to you guys about is a very simple theory called heuristics, introduced by Jacob Nielsen and Rolf Mollick. Okay, the importance of usability in the user experience spectrum is roughly over 33.3%. As you would know, it is 1/3 and it's a very significant portion. If you, like I said earlier, if your application does not have that level of usability, they're definitely going to look for different vendors. And how we are going to measure the level of usability of your applications, we'll be using, right. have heuristics. For those who do not know, heuristics are guidelines or usability rules of thumb. Now these heuristics were introduced by two people, Jacob Nielsen and Bob Connick, in 1990. Now you guys will think that this is kind of outdated, but then to be really honest guys, the applications that we see at present don't even meet some of these heuristics, and they fail in their usability. So these two gentlemen came up with 10 heuristics, and I'll be going through each one of them by showing you guys an example. The first heuristic is showing the user of the visibility of system status. Now as you can see, that simple form over here. As you can see, there's a simple form over there, which requires you to enter the mobile number and upload an image. Now, me being a user, I am going to type in my mobile number as 077. Okay, I do not know which format it requires, whether I need to type in my country code or something else in brackets or whatever. Right? So I type in my number, it does not give me any errors or anything, I just move to the other form, to the other control. So I go to browse, I pick this picture which was taken by some guy's DSLR, which is around 20 MB, and I just happily attach it. I do not get any form of error message again saying that it's too large or anything, so I'm assuming that it's okay. So I proceed to click on save, and once I click on save, I have this list of errors which says, number one, the format in which you type your mobile number in is wrong. Two, the file you attached is too large. Now, that is very poor usability, where you could have prevented showing these error messages to the user by just, validating things then and there as they typed it in. So, ideal case scenario would be something like that, where you type in your mobile number and the system gives you a prompt. It tells you whether it's right or wrong. And something which I haven't added here would be to give an example in simple text form below the control, give a sample mobile number in the format that you expect it to be. When you're uploading an image, before you attach it, please check whether it's too large or not, whether it meets the criteria which you need. And then when you're clicking on save, show the user that your information is being processed, and after that, tell us that it was saved. Now, this heuristic does not limit the things which you need to check to just a simple spin-up or a validation message. It could be a variety. It could be through different visual cues, through validation, synchronization, pop-ups, loading animations, displaying errors, etc. All of that. And to show you two good examples, I am using when the person is supposed to type in a username. I've come across this in many websites where I type in a name which is fancy, and then after filling the entire form, they tell me that this username is not there for me to take. Okay, and all of the data which was in the form which I filled is not there. So that in itself is wrong. The second heuristic is matching the system with the real world. What is this about? I'll explain it to you using a good example. Now, I as a person love to do coffee. Okay? Preferably with my friends. Now, say for instance, I walk up to this coffee stop, I ask the cashier, hey, I need a caramel latte. And the guy's like, sorry sir, item number 250 isn't available. And I'll be like, okay. Because I do not understand what item 250 is. But then, in another example, if the guy was like, sorry sir, we do not have cafe lattes, but we have, if you want, you can have a cafe latte. which was not what I requested for, right? So if I personally wouldn't have wanted to hear both of those because I want my caramel latte. But if I had to pick between one of those, I would pick the latter because I understand the latter. Similarly, when it comes to applications, designers, developers, business analysts, they know certain jargon. They know the words which they use when they're developing. And often what happens is they use these words that they know in their applications. But then, do you think for a second that what you use, will the user understand it? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So, matching the real world with the application should be familiar and it should be consistent. Now say you're using the word save to store information of an employee in a sample application. And in the same application, if you're using store as a word for the same process, you're violating the consistency there. So the user needs to know what save and store means in both instances. So you're overloading their memory. That is wrong. You shouldn't do that. So you should be consistent and it should be familiar. You should always put where the user should. You need to know what the user's words are. Now, for instance, if I go to Cardi's to do some grocery shopping, and now I pull a trolley, right? The real world example is trolley, but then if you're doing online shopping, the word which you are familiar with is shopping cart, not trolley. Similarly, you need to think about things like that. This error message is from an Oracle-based system, and to be honest, I have no clue what this error means, because it just says abnormal program termination, blah blah blah, and gives me a couple of files which are known as unknown. Right? So I'm pretty sure not even the developer knows what this means. So the ideal way to do this would be to, make sure that the user understands what the error is, make sure that he is given an option to get out of this situation which he does not want to be in. And also if you want to give additional information, but we are too lazy to go into additional information. We just want to get out of problems. The third heuristic is providing the user with control and freedom. Now, Jacob Nielsen often advocates that users will explore your application whether you like it or not. And if they explore your system whether they like it or not, you need to make sure that your system does not crash. You need to make sure that your system has backdoors to get out of those sticky situations, right? So there are three ways in which you could do this. Providing the user with undo redo options. 2, providing them with confirmation pop-ups or confirmation prompts. 3, emergency exits. Now I would like to have an undo redo button on my whole life. I'm pretty sure all of you do. Okay? So being a developer, it's even more important. And for the user, if they're using your application, they need it as well, right? So 2 examples would be this example from Gmail where I deleted 7 mails, just going to say, to show this example. So that's from Gmail, and the other one is Photoshop. If it wasn't for that one, I'm pretty sure no one would be using Photoshop because it's so handy. The other way is to provide confirmations to the user. Now say, you could not provide the user with undo redo options all the time, right? You might have an option for the user to click on show report, and when they click on it, the report appears. What's the point in having a redo option for that? Right? Similarly, undo redo isn't always there, but then moving on, confirmations are for actions which are irreversible. Say that I have a pack of eggs. I drop it on the floor, boom, it's all broken. The immediate redo option would be to pick everything up which was broken, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put all the Humpty Dumptys back together again. Right? So to prevent the user from doing such things, the best way to go about it is to ask the user, are you sure you want to do this? Right? 2 examples. would be, I was trying to overwrite this file some time back with something else, and yeah, I was asked whether yes or no. So luckily I clicked on no. And the other example was when I gave my phone to one of my friends because because I was a nice guy, and he took advantage of my phone and changed certain traits of myself, and posted statuses which weren't mine. And thank God Facebook had this option where I could delete. I wouldn't have had second thoughts about deleting that, but then in real life, in other situations, if I had posted something important and if I had clicked on delete by mistake, this would have come in handy. It would have stopped me from doing it. And the third option is to provide the user with clearly marked exits. It means the best example would be when you're deleting a massive file from your system on Windows or Mac, whatever. You have a progress bar as well as a cancel button. What if in the middle of it, hey, wouldn't I need this someday back? Okay, so there's cancel button just for that. A bad example would be this option from WordPress in 2012, where I'm uploading something on my WordPress site, on my blog, and I could not get rid of it until after it's uploaded. Now how messed up could that be? Imagine it's a corporate website. You're uploading something which is irrelevant and which would downgrade your company's market value. Imagine a situation like that. You need to have a cancel option, a clearly marked exit in that kind of situation. The fourth heuristic is consistency and standards. So, if your application is consistent throughout different packages or whatever, now say for instance you take Microsoft Office, the file button will be in the same place where it is in Excel. And similarly, save button will be saved, paste, copy paste, it will be the same thing. To explain it to you in a real world scenario, I had to go shopping with one of my lady friends around 8 months ago, right? And it was on a weekend, total bummer, right? So my lady friend went to her favorite store. I could not reveal the name due to certain reasons. So unfortunately for me, the item wasn't there in that store. And she had to call one of her friends, and she was like, all that, and then there's this new place in Timbrikasaya, why don't you check this place out? And me being the nice guy, I had to tag along with her from one end of Colombo to Timbrikasaya. So I went to Timbrikasaya, and she just walks in, doesn't ask any of the sales rep what the product she wants is. She just walks up to the aisle where it is like magically, it was like programmed biologically, and she just and on my way to this place, I was calculating, okay, what time I'm going to get home. Okay, it's going to take this much of minutes to get to that place. Okay, finding that place will take another half an hour. Choosing another 1 hour. Getting back home, so much, right? But I was wrong. She didn't take time to look for the thing. It was like, she knew where it was, right? And then I asked her, did your friend tell you where the item was? No, I know. And then it clicked to me. It was like a eureka moment, except minus the water and the humidity, right? I was like, I then figured out that all the stores had pretty much the same layout, right? Because they were pretty much consistent. If you go to Cargill's, Arpico, or Kiehl's, they have pretty much the same layout, right? That's why when you go with your mother, they know where the items are, right? We being men, we do not know, right? So consistency could be for system controls, it could be for tasks, it could be for language even, right? Like in the previous example which I told you, save and store, you don't use both words, you use one word for the same thing, right? It could be for tasks, the best example would be changing your cow picture and your profile picture. It's pretty much the same workflow except that the car picture is a bit big and your profile picture is small. That's it. And system controls, you do not have buttons or varying sizes which could do the same thing. That's just one example. So you just go through all the other stuff. And following platform convention, it's very important. I've used Mac OS and Windows OS from time to time on the same day, right? I have by mistake and clicked on cancel so many times because OK and cancel is inverse in Mac. Right? So if you're developing an application for Mac, make sure that the OK and cancel button are the same for when it's on Mac. And for Windows, whether it be Android, Windows Mobile or whatever, make sure that the platform conventions are followed throughout. And most importantly, being consistently consistent. This is something which I'm sad to say a lot of Sri Lankan websites or applications do not adhere to, right? Could you tell me what's wrong? Of course it's marked in red, so it's obviously wrong, but then I would like you to tell me what's wrong. Sorry?
The arrow is on.
Okay. Right, cool. Anything else? You, my friend? Colors. Brilliant. Okay. None of these controls are consistently consistent. One's in gray, the other has green and black, the other has yellow and black and gray. This is what being consistently consistent is all about. Icons to differentiate along with the colors, but the same design pattern. It could be even more streamlined if you want to, but then, it fits the example. And so I was doing some site stalking, right? And I came across the Vice website, which was in the US, NBC again. The only thing which I see consistent is where they have the Mercedes at. Right? Everything else is not consistent. It's on the same website, right? I'll get back to the colors later. Situation. So say that I lost a bet to Shiran over here, right? And I owe him 100,000 Sri Lankan bucks. Okay, now I made a wrong call, right? And I owe him. So I log into my online portal, my online bank account, and then I type in my I type in the amount, I type in his account number, and then I transfer the money. I get an error message saying that your money was transferred, but the person that you wanted to send for does not have that account number. Okay? And we do not know what happened to your 100 grand. Okay? So that's just a hypothetical scenario. That will never happen, of course. Okay, I do not owe Shiran anything other than that. So yeah, so do not, if you have to show an error message, it should be always the last resort. Do not show it just because you need to show it. If you want to get rid of an error situation, make sure that the user could not trigger such a situation. Now I was looking for pandas because pandas were they are almost extinct, but then, their population is rising a bit because of all the conservation. So I was typing this in, and I have like an entire array of options to choose from. Just imagine if I was typing for something wrong, with the wrong spellings, I have all of the options there, right? So I could pick it from there. It prevents me from typing it wrong, searching it, and then getting an autocorrect, and then going to the correct link. It prevents me from going through all of those extra steps, just by having that small thing. And the other example is from eBay. I was trying to buy something with someone else's credit card. I give you. So I typed in all of my details and clicked OK. And I thought that all of my details would be saved, but it was there. Luckily, unfortunately, some of the sites, some of the e-commerce sites in Sri Lanka or going abroad, they do not provide this option to you. The moment you do something wrong, and when you resubmit the form, all of the details that you filled in is not there. You should get rid of that. Right. The sixth is recognition or recall. What do you guys see over there? Okay. Right. Looks good on the ladies, right? So, what did you wear 3 days ago? This is not valid if you are wearing the same thing today. What did you wear 3 days ago? Yeah. Right. As you would have seen, recognition takes little time over recall. Best example would be the win of graphical user interfaces over command-driven interfaces. Everyone, almost everyone switched to GUIs the moment it came on. Why? Because you don't need to remember things. The moment you see, it's just a matter of recalling. So, recognition could be in forms of icons, images, even simple colors, text, you name it, right? If uncut all of those text and the icons, you would still be able to recognize what each and every icon is supposed to do. Take a to-do list, for example. If it's tick, you know that it's done. If it's not tick, yeah, you're supposed to do this. To-do list with red means high priority, yellow, green, like, you know. The other example is flexibility and efficiency of use. Now, efficiency could be in terms of doing more with less, doing more with what you have, or a combination of both, or a subset of different other factors. What I'm talking about here is about providing the user with features which accelerates their work speed, improves their throughput. Now, for instance, imagine the first couple of days you got the PC, right? And when you were doing something unnecessary, the first thing you would do would click on the minimize button, right? Video, minimize. A couple of days later, you figured out that it was taking too long, then it was Windows D. You know, video, and then all of a sudden desktop. Your mom's like, what are you staring at? Right? And then you figured, since Windows D was too dodgy, you figured out that all tab is the best thing to do, right? Video, Microsoft Word. My son is learning to type on Microsoft Word on a keyboard. Right? So, accelerators. It does not need to be keyboard shortcuts all the time. It could be context menus. It could be simple pop-ups. It could be anything basically. Those are two context menus, one's from Windows and the other's from Mac. So these context menus make it easy for the user to do their job. Creating folders, personalizing your desktop, etc., you name it. And personalization. Personalization provides the user with a level of flexibility where you think the system knows what you want. eBay does it to you. Okay? Last thing I bought from eBay, I think 8 months ago, was a jacket. Okay? After buying the jacket, I've been getting these, recommendations, and I'm like compelled to buy these stuff. Okay, I have to stop myself from visiting eBay on a daily basis to, stop spending so much. Okay, so why is this important? Is because the application knows what you want to do. You end up doing what the application needs you to do. Okay, basically on eBay, purchase more stuff. The accuracy, aesthetic and minimalistic design. This is very important. This is something which a lot of websites nowadays lack. Whether it be local or from abroad, this is something which is so important, but we are completely oblivious to this. So the most important thing to remember when you are designing a web application or a standalone application is to make sure that the noise does not distort your message. This is a sample website from UK, which was in 2012. I checked it out a couple of months ago. It was still there, but it was in the solid state. So I'm sorry for the poor quality of the image, but then the landing page, on the landing page they have their services, their solution, yeah, makes sense, that's why I'm there on their website, and our vision. But since I'm there as a consumer, I am not interested in their vision. But as you can see, it's all cluttered, too much of text, poor choice of color, and so many other things which I do not have enough time for you to explain. On the other hand, split second. This is heaven compared to Abseiling Services London. Why I say that is because I know what the product is, I know how to process it, I know how to get additional information, and it's very easy on the eyes. Plenty of white space, enough and more color, like 3 or 4 major, and it's pretty easy on the eyes. Again, categorizing colors and white space. I explained about white space, about having enough room between the different elements so that all of the elements have adequate space to breathe as well as for your eyes to focus on. Colors, one thing to note, please do not make your web application look like a rainbow where at the end you have a leprechaun setting booby traps. You don't want that to happen. And categorizing. I've seen so many applications with grids and grids and grids with the same information. Why don't we categorize it in a way which is easy on the eyes, where we could just click it and we could go deeper. That's all about proper data representation. Now, if I was to explain to you about these two images, one would be for the right-hand side column. One is the example for proper usage of color. As you can see, just 3 or 4 major colors, and they've done a brilliant job with it. Windows, this example is all about categorizing. This is about, they have the different themes. Instead of showing it, on tiles, on different levels, what they've done is they've categorized it into subsets where it's easy for us to pick from. So it's again data representation, making it easy for the user to understand what's there in front of them. Help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. This is a continuation from the heuristic called error prevention. So, needless to say, an error message should be shown only if you have to show it, not because you fancy showing a pop-up. This is a no-no. This is so much of a no-no, you should not have this at all. Any website with this kind of error message is extremely poor. I would just cut it off my favorite list. On the other hand, this is much better. It tells you what went wrong. It also gives you recommendations as to what you should do next. So basically, if you're giving an error message, make sure that you let the user know what went wrong, tell them how to get out of this situation, and if you want to, provide additional information. Is it me or is it cold? So, this example is from Google, and they've done a pretty neat job with it. They've told what's wrong with the options and additional information as well. They've split it. Help and documentation. The whole point of developing an application with an acceptable level of usability is for the user to follow through the application without guidance. That does not mean that your application should not have any help documentation. Okay? So if you're having help documentation, make sure that it's simple, readable, and in the context of your user. Similarly to the second heuristic, where I was talking about matching the real world with the system. So make sure that you use words that the user is familiar with and not the words that you know. And categorize it. eBay and Microsoft, again, but eBay has done a fantastic job with categorizing the different ways in which they provide support. If you're new to eBay, they have a section for that. If you want to buy, how do you buy? If you want to increase revenue, how do you increase revenue? And if you're a merchant there, how do you increase your sales? It's all beautifully categorized on eBay. Similarly, Microsoft has a range of products. And these range of products have like tons and tons of support documents. So what they've done is they've categorized all of these products, and if you click on one, you go in, and then you could dig deep and find whatever you were looking for, hopefully. So basically, make your help documentation searchable, contextualize, tooltips, pop-ups, you name it. If you have an icon which the user is not familiar with, and if you know, well, ideally you should not have an icon with which the user won't know what it's supposed to do, right? So if the user hovers on something, just give them a tooltip as to what it's supposed to do, or just give them a brief description, right? And most importantly, keep your help documentation updated. If you're having a help documentation which hasn't been updated for over 20 versions, what's the whole point in keeping it? A good example for it would be the Apple App Store Submission Guideline. These guys update this every 6 months. It's such a pain, right? Because the guidelines keep, trying to strangle us with all the new rules and stuff. But they keep it updated, which is very good to know. So that's about it, about the do's and don'ts for application usability. If you guys have any questions, I would be more than willing to answer them. Okay, thank you very much. You guys were a brilliant audience. Special thanks goes out to UX Colombo and Hassan Raviratna, Rasigama in the city, and Kosala Pereira for the help with the contest. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Ashok. We have one more very interesting speaker. But please, once again, round of applause to Ashok. That was a very insightful session. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder of Tasty.lk, Tarshan. And Tarshan will be speaking about the user experience gathered through the creation of Tasty.lk. So in order to speak about this topic, ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for Tarshan. Tarshan, take it.
I am Darshan Engineer, and I have built Tasty.lk. It's a restaurant directory that helps you to find nearby places to eat. Well, I am not a UX expert or not a design either. Then why I am here? I really would like to share some of the stories that I have experienced while building this website and which made the users happy. Okay. And this is the piece of work that we have done, which took us almost 1 to 1.5 years to build the system and to populate the data and to finally make the user happy. So in this process, I have learned a lot, because even before I start this site, I have never heard of UX. I had no idea what is UX, but I have been using it. Well, I have been giving a good user experience, but I didn't know what is UX. So here I would like to share some stories from my experience that I learned how the UX affects the quality of the product. So let's start here. How we started it actually. It's wrong. Actually me and my friend, we both did it. And how we started it. We were in a restaurant having a good meal and we were discussing where shall we go to eat the next week, and we didn't find a good place. And there are Google Plus, there are Foursquare, there are some other blogs and sites that help you to find a place to eat. But we were not happy at all. I feel like we wanted a list of restaurants that help us to go and eat the next week and period test them. So at that time, it was a random idea that my friend mentioned me. Why don't you start a website and start populating all the list we have, all our favorite restaurants, into a database. Like, it was one of the 100 ideas that comes to mind every day, right? We all have 100 of ideas, but nothing goes live. Because the main problem there is, we are not sure, not 100% sure that this is going to work or not. Will the users going to use it or not? We don't know the audience. So the next day I went home and I started gathering some details, some list of the restaurant, like 250 restaurants. I started putting it online, so my friends and me can use it between us. That helped me to go eat somewhere next week. It worked. I started putting all the restaurants and their contact information and the map. That's all. There are no reviews, no rating, nothing else. But 2-3 days later, I noticed my server logs, actually my visitor status. And there are 100 of people visiting my site already. I had no idea what's going on, but I learned that there is a problem there. People are searching for something, and they don't have a good product that satisfies them. Well, we all are looking for some low-priced product rather than like Google Plus or Foursquare or something like that. Because we believe the people around us, what the people are telling us, and the customized system that suits our country or our need, our people. So this is how I started this website, and I failed. Actually, I made hundreds of mistakes because I'm not a professional UX expert or not a developer either. Neither. But I had learned a few things. I'll start from here. Oh, give me a minute. Yeah, the feedback. Actually, I should have mentioned a lot of points already, the 10 points, which was very useful. The feedback. By feedback, I mean my user is not sitting in front of me. So I wanted a medium to connect to them. It could be a screen, a monitor, or the next 10 years, it can be a hologram display. It can be a Google Glass, or whatever. So the UI changes over the time, but the UX is not. So I wanted to connect to the user and give what they need. A good product should be useful, desirable. You should feel the pleasure using it. You should enjoy it. It should be beautifully designed. A good example is a parallax scrolling website. Everyone started to do a parallax scrolling website because others are doing it. But it doesn't suit every website. So learn how to utilize the native features and the native feedbacks to connect with the user. It can be a visual, it can be a vibration, it can be sound, whatever. visual cues, I have used it through the site because that's how I am connected to the user. They are looking at the screen, right? So I wanted them to find what they need. When I start the site, I started putting all the features that I have here, event system, coupons, menus, everything. And the site was bloated with all the features that nobody's going to use. After 5 or 6 months, I just noticed I have all the features, but nobody's using it. And the next 2 or 3 productive weeks was just removing all the features that I don't need. Not myself, but the users don't need. So I did a small research. What the users really want from my website and remove whatever is not useful there. The visual cues are important because it prerequisites the content, it emphasizes. When you go to a page, what you need. Users are not there to enter your design, right? They want something. They want content. Learn how to see, realize that everything connects to everything else. This is totally true because you can't have a great design with a bad, it's designed poorly on one side and beautifully on the other side. It should be balanced. Everything should be balanced and consistent to have a great design. Even the contact us page or the home page, everything, every single first feature should be balanced and equally designed. I have put more efforts to make it consistent, like the layout, the space in between every buttons, the space between every text box, the font size, the space between every lines, and the font kerning, everything. Well, I'm not saying this website is brilliantly built. It's not. But I have learned these things from it. There are layout principles, patterns. There are principles and patterns for everything that it's good to follow them because users are used to that. Because it makes the design intuitive. Users are already got used to it. If there's a button, they know it's there to click it. So I had a lot of designs, like the zigzag design and the layout, everything I had right. Because at that time I didn't know what to do. I didn't know which makes a good design. So I was trying out everything. It's not a good way, but I did that. It's always good to hear a failure story than a success story, right? So I failed there. Then I did a research on how users are reading my content, how users are using my site, and start working on it. Got rid of every useless feature and start putting all my efforts into the useful feature. This is a page on Tasty.lk called Nearby Finder. It helps you to find the nearest location by detecting your location, the geolocation point. It's intuitive. Actually, my friend did this, Prasad. It's intuitive because there are no instructions. Users follow their intuition. They know what to do there. There's a view icon and you track it. Once you're looking, your profile picture will be there. So you just track it and it will show the nearby location itself. There's no confirmation, no OK button, no submit, nothing else. So it's always better to make the design intuitive that users can use it themselves without any other instruction. Or just make it simple, right? Yeah, as I said, I always try for simplicity because users are there to get something. Because we got only few seconds to attack the user in every product, like 15 or 30 seconds. Then they move to other website or other product because information everywhere else. So we got only few seconds to attack the user and get them into the system. If you have a look at this sign up form, it's an example, but I have used a similar system on my website. There's no zip code, no country, no grandma's name, returns, nothing there. Only your name, your email, and password. Because that's what I wanted from user to serve them the content. But once they are logged into the system, I asked them to fill out all the profile. Not actually all the profile. I wanted to know their location. So I asked them to fill their location. So I can provide the nearby location. I will provide them the nearby restaurant easily. Rather than asking them where are you again and again. Like I get the location and store it somewhere. So users are more tend to sign up for it if it's simple, rather than a form populated with 10 fields. And if you have a look at the right side, there's a review form. There's a small story behind it because I started, the website was live and it was like 3 to 4 months and I didn't get any review from users. Me and my friends were using the site and we are posting some fake reviews actually, using some fake users. No one is using it. Then I noticed there's a button called please log in and register to write a review. Who is going to log in to write a review? Like they came to find some information or only 1% user actually write a review. 1 of 100. So then I changed this to like this layout where user can actually type the review and if they are deciding to post it, they can click on the post button and there's another step. In the second step, I asked them to post it as an anonymous user or log into the system. At that time, user decides what they have to do because they are already writing the content and they don't like to lose it. They have to put some time to write it. Well, I got more anonymous reviews than the user account. Because people like to be anonymous, right? The typography is beautiful. I can't, right? Users don't read every single letter, every character, one by one. They just scan the page, right? You're just scanning the page and if something is attracting, you stick there and start reading. Like, the newspapers are a good example for this. Just take the newspaper and start looking at it. If there's a nice word that's attracting you, start reading it. Or you skip to the other headline. I put more efforts to find a good font, good typography, because in my website, the type is more important because users are there to read something, read the reviews, right? So it's always good to do and put some time to do an analysis. Which font makes a good typography? Which family I'm using? Which font family? What's the background of that family? Where this comes from? Serif or sans serif. I don't have good experience with fonts. Before 2 weeks, I have a good friend who is a good designer, great designer. So I went to him and asked him, what's a good font you can suggest me that is suitable for my website? He said, use Roboto, it's a beautiful font. It was really nice font. Well, I changed the whole site to use Roboto font. Roboto, it's from Google. It looked nice on my Mac, but I went home and started looking at the website. It looks like everything is broken. Because the font acts different on every device, right? Every size. Well, I was disappointed because I loved the font, but I can't use it. What went wrong there is the font size. Roboto looks nice on 18 pixels, but not on 13 pixels. I didn't know that. Then I switched to Open Sans. And I'm happy until I find another device. What's striking here is artificial intelligence. I'm not going to talk about robotics or something here, because I have no knowledge about artificial intelligence rather than making games. I have been developing games for a few years, so I know a little bit about artificial intelligence. So it's always better to put this artificial intelligence to your system to make it intelligent. The software is there to help users to find something. So make it better by making it intelligent. It can distinguish autocomplete like this. about their algorithm there. It's called Wilson's score algorithm. Why I used it on my site was, when I started the website, I started listing all the restaurants nearby. And the next day, one user comes and writes a review with 5 stars. I love this place, okay? And another user comes and writes another review. The next day I noticed the restaurant is already in the homepage. But I didn't want to see the restaurant on homepage because it's not a popular place and it's not a nice place actually. That's because 2 people are liking the restaurants, so it's not normalist, right? It's not a normalist setting. It's not an average setting. So I was searching for a good solution to fix this, and I came up with this normalization algorithm. There are a few. I used Wilson's score, which calculates every signal on a restaurant that user is visiting, where they are coming from. Is it a search engine or referral? How many likes are there for a restaurant? How many reviews are there? How many people are following the restaurant? So I started collecting all of these details and normalizing it to make a popularity score. Then I started sorting by it. It worked very well. Anyone got any questions? It looks like nobody has a question. Thank you.
A very insightful account on the success of tasty.lk. Currently, there are some questions from the audience. Darshan.
Hi Darshan, and first of all, thank you for sharing your experience with you. And to be honest with you, this is a real story. I just wanted to share it with you. We moved into a new office in Kolpiti. We really wanted to search some place to eat because we were previously in another IT complex where we had the restaurants in the basement, so we just go there and just have the lunch and breakfast and come again. So when we searched for restaurants in Sri Lanka, I think your site came first. I think so, yes. So I clicked on the site and went to the site and just stopped for a moment and let me check the TLD first. Is really a .lk site. I really felt it. So I really commend you for building a really usable site. And for today that you made me realize that I have to work a little bit more on my own site too. So thanks for the inspiration and keep up your good work. Thank you.
Thank you certainly for that inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, before you wrap up, I would like to call on stage one of the organizers of UX Colombo Meetup. If you can come on stage, please. We have a very small presentation ceremony we need to get out of the way. We would like to warmly welcome back on stage 2 speakers. Unfortunately, the IDMR speakers have left because of prior engagements. We would like to call on Ashraf and Tarshan to come back on stage because the UX team has got something prepared as a token of their appreciation, and I'm sure that you would also agree they've been very, very insightful in their presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, very warm round of applause. We would also like to call on Dr. Gihan Das to come on stage. There's a small gift waiting you as well.
For me? How I thought.
Okay, so apparently you're doing presentation. I'm sorry, I didn't expect. Happens to all of us. Round of applause. Thank you. We'll call upon. I think you're better. Shiran, if you can come on stage to hand over the gift to Ashraf. Ashraf. Thank you, Ashraf, for that very insightful session on UX. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the final portion of this wonderful and yet insightful evening. In order to wrap up and give the vote of thanks, I would like to call on Hasanga Aberatna on stage to give the vote of thanks. Sanjay, you can run the stage.
Hello, it's very late, it's 8:50 already, so, but I need 5 minutes of the time. Can I have the mic? First of all, I would like to thank you all for coming here today, because UX Colombo is all about you guys, and we are just, when I said that, we are just the facilitators, because we want UX to be in the mainstream in Sri Lanka. Having said that, we have a real problem here now, because we are running out of speakers and people who would like to contribute at UX Colombo. So I have a very sincere request for you to come up and share your stories like Roshan did of Tessie.lk with us and with this wonderful audience from next time onwards maybe. So you can use our Facebook page and Twitter handles to just send us messages or whatever about it. And I had a few names who would I like to thank. Yeah. So I'd like to thank a few special people who put together this meetup today, because myself and Shiran both were really busy, so we didn't really have time to do anything on this. So I'd like to recognize Nalin, Tasham, who did the website for us, Nidhu, Sumudu, Nimesha, Pramit, Nizar. Can you guys come in front, because I just want to recognize you, because you guys did a lot of work to get it going. Malik, and finally Shiran's wife, because she's the one who made the food for you. So if the food was not good, you can talk to her, because she's inside this room. Yeah, so this is the thing. So if you contribute next time, you also will be called into the States. So that's one more reason to kind of like, okay, thank you. Another round of applause, please, for me. Thanks, guys. And thank you. You can go. Oh, right, yes. Yeah, I'm just a speaker. Okay, so finally I would like to thank our sponsors for this meetup. The Idea Mart, with such a short notice, they offered us the venue and all the other facilities. And the NetStarter, because NetStarter is the official food sponsor for this one, refreshments of course. And Digit for the extensive media coverage, and our ever friendly, the Pelican Video Productions team, who's doing the video for us for free, actually. So that's it. That's it. 5 minutes up, and have a pleasant evening. Thank you.